Hey class, hopefully you're doing well today. Today is Thursday, March 19th, 2020, which means today is the first day of spring. Awesome! Yes, we made it. So in honor of that, I have a very special book for you today. It is called Nature's Friend, the Gwen Frostic story. It is written by Lindsey McDivitt and illustrated by Eileen Ryan Ewen. Now, what you can do is you can pause the video right now and head over to epic.com to our classroom page, and this book is also assigned to you there. So you can open up 2 tabs on your computer and follow along as I read this and see the pictures and enjoy the full story as well. So go ahead and press pause and pull out that book. All right, now, Gwen Frostic is a very important person in Michigan history. She is a pioneer in printmaking arts. She is an artist and a designer. She's written books and illustrated those books, and she has had a very deep, endearing passion for making sure to help the environment. She opened up a shop in Frankfort, Michigan, which is up in this zone right here, right by my grandmother's house. So I've actually visited the shop quite a few times, and it is a very impressive and just magical place to be. So after we are done reading the book, you can learn a little bit more about her. I won't read this to you today, but since you do have access to the book on Epic, you'll be able to read the book this part of the book as well. Included also in the back is a small activity that you can do now that it's spring. We should be able to get outside and start doing some activities while you're still in that social isolation. You can do this in your own yards or visit a local walking trail somewhere where there's not a lot of people around and do this activity with a parent or friend. So, the Gwen Frostic story. Gwen followed her brothers and sisters everywhere, like a small fawn that follows the herd. They roamed the woods and fields near Crosswell, their tiny tucked into the thumb of Michigan town. Gwen played and picked wildflowers, but her hands were weakened from an illness as a baby. Her speech was slurred, and one foot dragged as she fell down often. She bumped her shins, she bruised her knees, she banged her elbows. "Gwen doesn't need your help, Helen," Mama called from the porch. Mama knew Gwen could do whatever she put her mind to. "I never knew I couldn't do something." Gwen Frostic. Sounds kind of like a story of perseverance right now so far, doesn't it? Gwen was born in 1906. At the time, a child with disabilities usually stayed home, but Mama had been a teacher. She sent Gwen to school and pushed her to learn. In class, Gwen hated the glances and the giggles. She hated the whispers, and most of all, she hated the only things other students seemed to notice were the things that made her different. It made her want to hide like a frightened chipmunk. But instead, Gwen gathered up knowledge like birds that build nests. Now, what I'm starting to notice so far is she likes to compare her struggles in life to those that she sees in the reactions of animals. She has a very keen sense and observation of the animals around her. Gwen was bright, but her hands were weak. Her teachers said that she would never learn to write. Mama stuffed a drawer with art supplies and encouraged Gwen to use her hands. Gwen pulled out a pencil and pad of paper. Like a new leaf stretched for the sun, she reached for new skills. Her hands worked extra hard. She sketched and scribbled. She doodled and drew. Gwen's grip grew stronger and stronger. I love that determination. She hasn't given up. Gwen loved learning, but trying to make friends could leave her feeling as prickly as a porcupine. Nature felt like a friend, pulling her out to play. With so much to discover, Gwen didn't have time to feel lonely. Swaying grasses whispered in fields thick with Queen Anne's lace. Tiny ferns unfurled at her feet. Frogs lapped up bugs with long, quick tongues. Gwen breathed it all in. She listened to their message. All things are vital to the universe. All are equal and all at once, different. Gwen Frostic, Beyond Time. When Gwen was 12, her family moved to the edge of Detroit. They rode the streetcar into the big city and gazed up at Woolworth and Ford's buildings. Long walks to Grosse Isle brought Gwen closer to nature than she loved so dearly. She was learning it was all right to be different, and high school brought on new challenges. However, Gwen knew she could do anything she put her mind to, and her hands, now strong and sure, reached for paintbrushes and paint. She was unafraid to tackle tools and skills reserved for boys. Gwen signed up for mechanical drawing and learned to use rulers and compasses to draw machines, and the men squawked like angry blue jays. But in shop class, her skills with a bandsaw impressed her classmates. Bzzz. In art school, Gwen discovered something new, linoleum, a rubbery material used for floors. Gwen grasped a sharp tool and worked hard to cut out a picture in the surface of the linoleum. Carving it slowly and carefully, she rolled ink along the surface of the block and then gently pressed a clean sheet of paper to it. Her brush, her pencil, and her pen will make this world a better place. In Gwen's high school yearbook. Gwen dreamed of life as an artist, but in order to earn enough money to live, she knew she would need to start a business, though that wasn't easy for a woman back then. One day, squaring her small shoulders, Gwen hopped onto a bus to collect new art materials. She hauled home heavy loads of copper and brass. Pounding away in Mama's basement, she hammered the metal into clocks, a sundial, and a fireplace screen decorated with dragons. The banging and clanging bounced off the cellar walls. At first, only Gwen's family cheered for her creations, but word of her art was spreading across Detroit like a wildfire. Clara Ford, wife of the automaker Henry Ford, ordered Gwen's copper vases for Fair Lane, their grand estate. In 1939, Gwen was invited to send her art to the World's Fair in New York. She felt like a bird on the first day of spring. I wonder what they're all feeling out there right now. Happy spring, birds. Soon, war broke out in Europe, and copper and brass Gwen loved to use disappeared. All metal went to manufacturing equipment for the armies overseas. She wanted to lend a hand. Gwen knew she could do whatever she put her mind to. She marched into Ford Motor Company and signed up to build bombers. Ford's famous assembly line now produced a plane every hour. Using the mechanical drawing skills she had learned, Gwen designed tools for building the airplanes that were desperately needed for fighting in the war far away. All the day long, whether rain or shine, she's a part of the assembly line. She's making history, working for a victory. Rosie the Riveter. Lyrics to Rosie the Riveter by Red Evans and John Jacob Loeb. Gwen's days were filled with the roar of machinery and the clang of construction, but in the quiet evenings she still longed to create art. She reached again for linoleum. She bought a printing press and launched Press Craft Paper's stationery company. Clickety-clack, clickety-clack, clickety-clack. Gwen joined the small ranks of female business owners. But something was missing from Gwen's city life. A nature called to her like a friend. She pictured the wild north she loved so much, wind-blown trees, crashing waves, a great blue heron perched at the edge of the pond. She packed up her press and moved with her dog Teddy to the top of Michigan's Mitten. And I can tell you what, that place that she moved to is just as magical as she just described it. On her way to Lake Michigan's Betsy Bay, Gwen walked through Frankfort's tiny downtown. Her new neighbors definitely noticed Gwen and her dirty hands and ink-stained dress. They wondered why she and Teddy lingered so long at the swamp. I worked with nature because it treats me equally. Gwen Frostic. She walked deep into the wetlands. When Gwen sat quietly with her pad and pencil, as still as a watchful fox, she seemed to hear music. She sensed music. She witnessed small miracles. Gwen wanted others to see nature as she did, to recognize the value of plants and trees and animals. So she chipped and chiseled and cut, carving linoleum away until her design stood out. Graceful branches bare of leaves reached for the sky. A lonely doe gazed over a grove of pines. Whiskers twitched below a mischievous black mask. Her linoleum blocks were ready for printing. Gwen ran them through her presses, and soon her new greeting cards were ready to sell. I do a pencil sketch from life animals, birds, plants, trace it on the block, and exercise it for the press. Every vein in every leaf is true to life. Gwen Frostic. And if you see right here, this is what she was talking about. It's the mischievous, masked, whiskered one. That's my favorite press of hers. Gwen's art reminded everyone of nature's beauty and importance at a time when many people had forgotten. Lakes, plants, and animals were in trouble, threatened by pollution. But like a fresh breeze through the birch trees, Gwen's works whispered the truths about meadows and marshes. Across Michigan and around the world, people listen. Visitors flock to her shop in the forest. And this is what her little shop looks like still today. And it looks very naturey on the inside as well. You can look through the glass and see the actual printing presses, all still in their original format from the 1940s. For many years, Gwen worked hard in her studio, surrounded by the woods and wetlands she loved. She was determined to show others that nature was worth protecting and enjoying. So much depended on it, and Gwen knew she could do whatever she put her mind to. Like ripples on the pond, Gwen's art spread the word. Love this earth, love its waters, care enough to keep it clear. Gwen Frostic. As long as there are trees and tiny seeds, there will be miracles on earth. And that's her handwriting. You can find all over the store and all over her products. And one of the other things that she mentioned in the story as well was visiting the small town of Frankfort. It is just as small as it was when she first went and visited. In fact, I actually bought this copy of the book, in a very small bookshop in Frankfort, Michigan as well. Well, I hope that you enjoyed that story. I'm going to post it on Google Classroom along with a question that you can answer about the book. Share what you thought, share what you're interested in, and I will also post a link to the website where you could check out what Gwen Frostic's store and what some of her prints look like. All right, I hope you guys have a great first day of spring. Hope to hear from you soon. Bye!